Under cost plus model, what we are required to do is to come and take what we call the variable cost, right? We take in this case here the fixed cost, right? So fixed cost, we put a value there, and then of course we'll come and add the two to get the total cost, which is like that. Now, once I have the total cost, then of course I'll come and add what we call profit markup. Profit markup, a certain percentage, which will end up giving me a profit markup of say whatever amount. So add the two. When you add the two, you should be able to get now what we call the appropriate selling price. So the selling price in this case here could be like that. So selling price basically here will be the cost plus, where cost means you are taking variable vis-a-vis what here somebody fixed. You put them together, get total cost, and then you add a profit markup for you to be able to get what we call a selling price. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would want you to appreciate one thing. When we talk of variable cost, what are we looking at? When we talk of variable cost, of course, we know that variable cost, these are also known as what here, the prime costs. They are also known as the prime cost or the primary cost. This primary cost, what do we have? Primary cost, we have, of course, the cost of material. The cost of material, we have in this case here labor cost, and then we have what we call the variable overhead, So these three, when you take these three and you add them together, then we shall be getting what we call the variable production cost, the variable cost like that. Variable cost like that. So when you talk about variable cost, always think of these three elements: the material, the labor, and then we have the variable overhead. Remember, overheads basically are those expenses that, ladies and gentlemen, are common. Like rent, it is common, although rent is not variable, but any expenditure that is common to all the units that are being produced, which you can't easily apportion to the individual units, we shall be lumping them together under what we call overhead, variable overhead. Now, I would want you to listen to me very carefully. And this is something I've always seen your examiner joking around with students, right? So your examiner will give you a cost plus model nicely. He will give you the material cost, he'll give you the variable overhead, he'll give you the fixed cost. But now for labor, he'll come and introduce this concept of what you're learning curve. Remember, learning curves are mostly attributable, they are mostly associated with who? They are mostly associated with labor. But even before I tackle learning curves today, I would want to give you a small question here and then see who will be able to give me the selling price illustration, to give me the selling price here. Illustration, they have given us material cost per unit. They have given us material cost per unit, and they have given us labor cost per unit, 8. They have given us variable overhead per unit, for instance, 2. And then they have given us fixed cost again per unit, for instance, 5. But they've come here and given me profit margin. Profit margin is 10%. 10% is 10%. 10%. So then what do they want us to do? We are required here to determine the appropriate selling price. Determine the appropriate selling price. Using the information given here, determine the appropriate selling price. Can I give you 1 minute to try this question for me? Can I give you 1 minute to try this question for me? Or would you rather I do it directly? Would you rather I do it directly, or 1 minute at least you attempt the question for me? When they are silent like that, I know these are very serious students who would want to do the question themselves first. Yes, yes. Attempt, yeah. After all, this is a straightforward thing. It's a straightforward thing. So I'm giving you 1 minute, you attempt. Thank you very much, Catherine. So I can see great students here. They're giving me great answers. They're telling me 27.5 throughout. Yeah, from up there, I've not seen, oh no, I can see one student called Liz who has one different figure here, 25.1. Joyce is saying that the board is not clear. The board is not clear. What do you mean? From my end here, if there is a day that I'm able to, actually I'm very happy, is today. From my end here, I'm able to see the board is very clear. Not unless the internet from your side has an issue. From my end, the board is very clear. So would you want Mwalimu to make some adjustment? Would you want Mwalimu to make some adjustment? It's clear. Thank you very much. Now, it's clear now. Thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is one thing that I would want you guys to appreciate, that this is a costing model. And the cost, whenever it comes to profit metric, getting a profit out of cost, cost always works together very well with profit markup. Cost does not, you cannot, cost and the profit margin can never marry. The cost and the profit margin can never marry. So the students who got 27.5, did they make use of this margin or they changed it to markup? I would want first of all to get some feedback here. Did they make use of margin the way it is, or they made use of markup? Please talk to me. Talk to me. Please talk to me. Hilda's changed. Oh, they used margin. Karanja, how could you use margin? You see, margin can never marry. Margin can never marry a cost. The two in this case here can never work together. Can never work together. Can never work together. Can never work together. The two can never work together. So what I'm required to remember very fast here is how do we change margin to markup? How do we change margin to markup? Change margin to markup. I really don't even have to overemphasize anything here. The thing that we need to know is this. The thing that we need to know is this, that margin has a bigger denominator. Margin has a bigger denominator. If you tell me that the profit margin that you have, if you tell me that the margin that you have is 2/7, then I will appreciate that the markup will have a smaller, denominator. So the markup will be 2/5. Could you kindly try to explain to me? I also don't know, honestly. I don't know what I did to get this 5 down here. What do you think did I do to be able to get the 5 down here? What did I do to be able to get the 5 down here? What did I do to be able to get the 5 down there? What did I do to be able to get the 5 down there? I took what Ruth is telling me. I took the selling price, which is margin as a selling price down here. I took this 7, subtracted the profit numerator. So in this case here, this is very interesting that to get markup, because markup has got a smaller denominator, to get markup, what I did was to take the 7 there, I subtract to get the smaller denominator, which will end up giving me 2/5. So this is exercise number 1. How about exercise number 2? What if they were to give you markup of 10/100? What do you think in this case here will the margin figure be equal to? If markup is 10/100, then margin will be equal to who? Somebody. If markup is 10/100, then margin, they're giving me their answers very fast. Thank you very much. You great students are nice. They're telling me that Mwalimu margin, they are clever. Margin has got always a bigger denominator. To get margin's denominator, you always do some addition. To get margin, you'll take 10/100. Margin, you add 10 like that, which will end up giving me 10/110. So the thing that they have been able to pick very fast from me is that margin has a bigger denominator. Margin has a bigger denominator. Margin has a bigger denominator. Now, ladies and gentlemen, listen and listen to me very well. Listen and listen to me very well. In most cases, your examiner will give you, margin for wanting to confuse you. So I need to know how to convert margin to markup for costing purposes. So to see whether you guys are following, if you're given a profit margin of 10/100, which is the same as 10%, what will be the markup? You'll see most of them will not be able to get this correctly. Akaranja has already picked it up. The same case with Catherine, they have picked this up very well. Wamejua markup tunateremka. Hata kama jini na za confuse wewe, lakini markup denominator wise tunateremka, because markup is over cost. So it will be 10, tunateremka 10/100 minus 10. So it will be 10 out of what here, 90. So then if that is the case, what I'm supposed to do is to come and get the total cost. So could you kindly help me here by giving me the total cost? Could you kindly come and give me the total cost? The total cost in this particular case. What is the total cost in this particular case? 25. Thank you very much. So this is the total cost. Thank you very much. This is the total cost. And ladies and gentlemen, now what we have here, will come and say add profit markup. And the profit markup is 10 over 90 because the margin was 10%. So 10 over 90 of 25 will be equal to who? 10 over 90 of 25 will be equal to 2.78. 2.78. When you add the two, this will be 27.78, like that. So this is the appropriate selling price. This is the appropriate selling price. This is the appropriate selling who? Price. Is there anybody who got this correctly, really? Is there anybody who got this correctly, really? Hilda says me. Great. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is how your examiner will be able to cheat you. This is how your examiner will cheat you. This is how your examiner will cheat you. Illustration 2. So illustration 2, you are given the cost card of producing the first unit. The first unit. So they'll give you material cost equals 10. They'll come and they give you labor cost. Labor cost, they'll give you 5 hours each at shillings 3 per hour, giving you 15. And then now they'll come and they give you additional information. Number one, they'll tell you that the learning rate is 75%, and this ceased or stabilized on the 10th unit. It stabilized on the 10th unit. It stabilized on the 10th unit. Very, very important. Very important. That number 2, overheads are absorbed at 150% of the labor cost. At 150% of the labor cost. Full stop there. Number three, the third thing, ladies and gentlemen, they'll come and tell you that the profit margin is 25%. The profit margin is 25%. Profit margin is 25%. So we are required to determine the selling price. Determine the selling price of the 13th unit. Determine the selling price of the 13th unit. Determine the selling price of the 13th unit. And I'll give you exactly 5 minutes. You try attempting this. Exactly 5 minutes. Kindly try attempting this question. You see how far you can get with it. Is there anybody who is working out anything really? Also would want us to waste time. Is there anybody who is working out anything? Ruth says yes. It would be wrong of us to waste time. If it's only one student who is working out something, that means that 99.9999% are not able to write anything. So mwalimu would be better off tufanye harambee. Mwalimu would be better off kufanya harambee. I think what Benny is saying makes a lot of sense, because honestly speaking, if it's only one student who is attempting, that means that students have never reviewed their learning curve concept. Because when I was teaching you these things in the normal class, I saw like most of you really understood the concept, but perhaps also there is the other chance that so many of us came after we had finished, like Bernice for the very first time. Okay, no problem, you'll get this very fast. It's a simple concept. So Karanja is so brave. Karanja has come up with a figure. Karanja has come up with a figure. So ladies and gentlemen, one thing that we need to do here, which we have to remember very fast, is that for learning curves, we need two things. Number one, we need A. A is the time taken to produce the first unit. The time taken to produce the first unit. So the time taken to produce the first unit, what do we have? They told us cost card of producing the very first unit. So the time taken to produce the very first unit here is 5 hours. Are we together up to there? Are we together up to there? Are we together up to there? A in learning curves is time taken to produce the very first unit. So I would want to know whether we are together up to here. 5 hours. Yes. How about B? B is the learning index. B is the learning index. And if you can recall, for us to get this B nicely, there is a formula, which is log R over log 2. What does this R stand for? What does this R stand for? What does this R stand for in the calculations of B? In the calculations of B, what does this R stand for? The percentage, the learning rate. Learning rate is the better thing, is the better terminology. So it is a learning rate. I hope you've been able to pick it there. It is a learning rate. It is a learning rate. The learning rate. So the learning rate, what do we have here? So we have here log of 0.75 over log of what here, somebody? Over log of 2. So I'm so sure that there are students, whenever they see these logarithms, they become sick a little bit. This should never worry you. Why? Because your calculator has logarithms there. You simply say logarithm of 0.75 over logarithm 2. What are we able to get somebody there? So Hilda, Catherine, they've given me negative 0.415. Once I get this negative 0.415 that presumably has been obtained by all of us. I'm assuming that all of us, we've been able to get that B. Please ensure that you're able to get that B. It's log of 0.75 divided by log 2. If you're not able to get it, now that you're at the tail end of the semester, we are at tail end, which is quite easy. The tail is now shaking. Very soon I'll be releasing you to go and write your exams. Please don't fear anything, because if you fear to expose that you really don't understand some of these things, Very soon, Kasneb will expose you. I'm just saying it's a joke, but at the end of the day, it's a joke which makes sense. So Catherine tells us, and Ruth, that once you have gotten this B, the better thing for us to do is to come and add 1. You give us B plus 1. So B plus 1, we have minus 0.415 plus 1, which somebody has given me a figure of 0.585. 0.585. All these are great marks that I'm getting even without knowing what exactly is to be done in the question. 1 mark here and there. And remember, for advanced AMA, just like advanced AFM, 1 mark in AMA can make you see places that you have never seen before. 1 mark. So then come here. Now we have B plus 1. If I'm the one who is writing this exam, the next thing that I will do is to come. I can see in this case here, Catherine asking a question, why B plus 1? I'll be able to answer that, Catherine, very well in my next step. Because now what I'll need to do is to go ahead and write the learning curve equation. Go ahead and write the learning curve equation. So come here and write the learning curve equation. So we have here the learning curve Is there anybody who is able to remember this equation? Is there anybody who is able to remember this equation? The formula. Thank you very much, Damaris Mutembei. That is so nice of you. Damaris has been able to remember our equation, learning curve equation moves like this, that y equals ax raised to power b plus 1. So Catherine, the question you are asking really is here. Its answer is here. You are getting the exponent. The exponent tells us, the power here tells us to not only work with b. No, once I get the b, I need to get the total power, which will be b plus 1. And therefore, now that I've got everything, my work will be to come here and plant these variables that we have. So a is 5x raised to 0.585 like that. 5x raised to 0.585. Remember A. Time taken to produce the first unit. B plus 1, already we have it. So first of all, I would want to know whether we are together up to there, all of us. Are we together up to here? Are we together up to here? Yes, thank you very much. Now, once I have that, this question is kind of abnormal. Why is it abnormal? That learning curve is not progressing throughout. That learning curve is stabilizing after some time. So whenever you hear this examiner talk of stabilization, it will be very important that in the next subsequent stage here, you calculate for us the time of stability. So the next thing that I need to do is to come here and calculate the time of what here? Stability. So come here, let me rub this, because I know you'll be able to give me these things very fast. No, I can even use this. So come here and calculate the time of stability. So the time of stability, what do I have here? The time of stability, this is the time of the 8th unit. They've told us, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to stabilize not 8th unit, but 10th unit. Is the time of the 10th. The time of the 10th unit. So the question that I'm going to pose to you and see whether I'm going to throw to you and see whether you'll be able to capture this question so nicely. What do you think shall we do for us to be able to get this time, which is denoted as y, 10th unit? What do you think are we going to do for us to be able to get the time of the 10th unit? What do you think are we going to do for us to get the time of the 10th unit? What do you think are we going to do for us to get the time of the 10th unit? Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me, somebody talk to me. Somebody talk to me. I can see Ruth, I can see B, I can see Catherine. What they have told me is to come and take y of the first 10 So I get the total for 10 units, and then I cut out the time of the first 9. The time of the first 9. Why am I doing that? Because I don't want the time for the first 10 units. No, I want the time for the 10th unit. I want the time for the 10th unit. And for me to get the time for the 10th unit, this is what I'm supposed to do. Just calculate the time of all the 10 units, and then you cut out the time of the first 9 for you to be left with a 10th unit that is suspended there. And then if you recall very well, the time for the first unit is applicable to both. So what you're supposed to do is to come and put the 5 out there, and then you say 10. 10, you're following. You see x is 10. 10. So 10 raised to this power, 0.585 minus 9 raised to this power again, 0.585 like that. So then could you kindly help me out there? You say 5 times open brackets, please know how to raise today. Say 10 raised to that figure minus 9 raised to this figure. And then you advise. According to Faith Saragon, she's saying that the answer is 0. What here, somebody? 0.23. Is that correct? Is that correct? Is that correct? Faith, somebody is disapproving you. Somebody called Catherine is saying it's supposed to be 1.1494. So I want to see whether Faith has gotten the same. Please, Faith, ensure that you really know how to raise in your calculator raised function. You'll get some raised function having that kind of a button, raise. So Faith, I'm waiting to hear from you. Fardosa has been able to get it right. Magdalene, thank you very much. Damaris, 1.1494 and 1.1495. Those are children of the same mother. Rounding off. Thank you, Faith has confirmed she's gotten it. Thank you very much. And now once you have gotten this, 1.1494 hours, I would want somebody to give me the time of the 13th unit. Let's try this. Time of the 13th unit. Time of 13th unit. Time of the 13th unit. Please try this using the formula or whatsoever. I would want to see whether there is anybody who will be able to get this correct. Time of the 13th unit. I want to see whether there is anybody who will be able to get this correct. Let us see who will be able to apply the formula very fast and give us an answer. Let's see who will be able to apply the formula and give us an answer, because I can see what others are saying, like Vinny, does not make sense. What Ruth is saying there does not make sense, because I've asked a very specific question. I've asked about time of the 13th unit. I don't want stories. 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 I want time of the 13th unit. Anybody who is giving me a story? Thank you very much. Fardosa says 1.0256. Yeah, I want figures now. I don't want stories. I don't want anything more than one number. Karanja Getonga, Hilda says 1.02559. So basically the same as what Catherine, what Magdalene is telling us. Thank you very much, Jabir. That is very correct. But anybody who got 1.0256, anybody who got 1.0256, could you kindly take a big biro pen? It has to be big like this. And if possible, a red one. And put a wrong there. Put a wrong there. B. There's nothing wrong in putting a wrong. There's nothing wrong in putting a wrong. Nothing wrong in putting a wrong. Damaris Mutembei sister put a wrong there as well. And then as I take a 1 minute break, Karanja Mekubali, Nakaru is getting even a negative. Please put a wrong there and always take pleasure in putting wrongs for yourselves. In the finance language, we normally talk of failing successfully. Failing. Oi, okay. Great. Okay, great. So, ladies and gentlemen, look at what those students in this case here who told me the right thing from the word go. But those students who told me the right thing from the word go, I saw there were two of them. Was it Vinny and Ruth? And then, of course, because I wanted most of you to make a mistake, I told them off from the word go, and most of you guys thought they were wrong, but those students were very right. Listen. If, for example, this mwalimu here was to be a carpenter, and I gave you this example during our normal class, like the very first chair that I will produce, ladies and gentlemen, the very first chair that I will produce here, ladies and gentlemen, may take me quite a long time, perhaps 10 hours. No, perhaps 10 hours. The second chair I produce, because I'm producing quite similar type of chairs throughout, I expect the second chair that I produce, ladies and gentlemen, to take me a shorter duration. And that is the essence of learning curve. So perhaps this would take me like 6 hours. We go to the next one, Perhaps in this case, this is chair number 2. Chair number 3, perhaps could take me like 4. Chair number 4, you can now see things are stabilizing. Perhaps this takes me 3.5. And then now after chair number 4, now we have stabilized. What do you think will happen to chair number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and moving forward, which are coming after we have stabilized? After we have stabilized, ladies and gentlemen, what will happen? The time of stability now will apply all through, because you have stabilized. And I told you why this stabilization thing has to be there. There is no way as a human being you'll keep on improving and improving throughout. There is no way that this carpenter of yours will improve and improve to the extent that they will reach a time where I'll be saying, let there be a chair, and a chair comes up in 0 hours. Then if that happens, I would have assumed the role of God himself. And God can never allow that. Everything has got an end. You'll reach a time, ladies and gentlemen, where at the end of the day, you cannot be able to learn any further. You can't learn any further. So what I expected someone to tell me here is that the time of the 13th unit is exactly equal to the time of the 10th unit, which equals 1.149 hours. Why? Because from the question, we were told that learning will stabilize on the 10th unit. Learning will stabilize on the 10th unit. Learning will stabilize on the 10th unit, and after stabilization, then we do not expect any unit produced subsequent to stability point to take a lower time. I don't know whether I'm making myself clear. I don't know whether I've made myself clear. Great. Thank you very much. 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 Now then, after now we have understood that concept, now I can write there pricing or rather cost stroke price statement. Now mention there cost stroke price statement. Cost plus cost stroke price statement. So we start with material cost. So material cost, they have given me the material cost here per unit, which is 10. I'm just copying here. Material cost per unit is 10. From there, I'll come and pick the labor cost. The labor cost, which happens to be 15. Can I put labor cost there to be 15? Remember which item are we pricing? We are pricing the 13th unit. This is the item we are pricing. The item we are pricing is the 13th unit. So can I go ahead and say that the labor cost of the 13th unit will be 15? They're saying no. No. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that labor cost is a function of number of hours and the rate per hour. The labor cost here is a function of number of hours. Number of hours we expect to use to execute, to produce this 13th unit. You guys gave me a figure of 1.4 something. Unfortunately, I rubbed my figure, but I can easily, 1.14. It is 1.1494 hours. It is 1.1494 hours times each hour is 3 per hour times 3 per hour times 3 per hour times 3 per hour. So could you kindly give me a figure? Could you kindly give me a figure? So Catherine has given me 3. Oh, the board is not visible. The board is not visible. The board is not visible. No problem. I'm a master. How about now? How about now? How about now? A bit clear, or you can't see it at all? Better, better, better. I can easily take it to manual. I go for ISO. I take it back to 800. Okay. Coril says clear. Coril says clear. It's good. Your network is not good. No, my network I think is okay. My network is okay. Okay, so could you kindly then multiply this? This times 3 gives me what figure now? Better, thank you very much. So Catherine tells me it is 3.4482. I'll move a bit slow because of some of you clearly are not able to see very well. So labor cost is 3.4482. Is there any other cost that you guys think we should put here? Is there any other cost that you guys think we should put here? Any cost that you think we should put here, apart from material cost and labor, any cost? When you're pricing, don't leave out any cost. Overheads, thank you very much. Overheads. The only thing that you haven't told me is how am I going to capture these overheads in my cost statement? How will I capture these overheads in my cost? How will I be able to evaluate the overheads in my cost statement? This time around, they never gave you a figure, but they gave us how to absorb. They told us that overheads are absorbed at what rate? At 150, what Catherine is telling me. So then overheads will be 150%, will be 150% of labor cost. So it will be 150% of 3.4482. So 150%, yeah, they're giving me, Mary is giving me a correct figure there, 5.1723. So could you kindly then give me the total cost? Please give me the total cost. Give me the total cost. Please add the 3. Give me the total cost. Please add the 3. Add the 3. Give me the total cost. Please add the 3. 18.62. 18.6205. So having gotten the total cost, then what do you think will be the next thing to be done? Remember, you are asked to do some pricing for us. How do we move from cost to price? How do we move from cost to price? Yeah. Thank you very much. Add profit markup. So add profit markup. So the profit markup in this case here will be 25 over 125. Profit markup in this context here will be 25 over 125. Please look straight away at me in my eyes and tell me, Mwalimu, you are cheating. And tell me why you think I'm cheating. So I can see most of them are telling me, Mwalimu, it should be 25 over 75. I like that. It should be 25. It should be 25 over 75 times 18.6205. So I hope everybody has been able to see how we got 6.207. 6.207. 6.207. So then when you add the 2, now you'll be able to give us the price. So you add this and this, then you'll be able to give us the price. Could you kindly give us the price there? 24 point. Please be consistent with your decimal places. Like this is 3. Make sure you're consistent throughout with your decimal places. So 24.8276. 24.8276 or 75. Even 833 still Jabiri is okay. That's very okay. Because the difference is brought about because of what here? Rounding off errors. Because of rounding off errors. Because of rounding off errors like that. Now, this is a very good question, but I don't feel that you guys are still comfortable with this. So allow Mwalimu here to give you another example here. Na Karo ameuliza 6.2 imetoka wapi? Unfortunately, ameuliza kama nimevuta the 6.2. We took 25. I did quite fast. I'm so sorry. If there is anybody who has been able to write nicely, very fast, could you kindly take a screenshot of your work? And then what you do, please post that on our WhatsApp. The 6.2. Let's see. You know, there is one which is the overhead of 150%. of the labor cost, and there is the 25 over 75 times 18.6205. But of course, in this case here, for us to be able to satisfy and meet my students' curiosity, I would expect you, great students of mine, to do exactly as I have instructed. You take a screenshot of that, and then you throw it to our WhatsApp so that I can hear from Daniel saying that, Mwalimu, even if you did mess, at least I have a full answer on WhatsApp. So unless Daniel talks to us, that he has gotten a solution to that question, I'm not continuing. It is that serious, yes. Yes. Until Daniel tells us, Mwalimu, we have a solution. Or any other person. It has been shared. It has been shared. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Great. Now with that, now I could easily continue and give you illustration number 2. So illustration number 2, if CASNEB was to give me a chance of setting this exam, I would straight away try to ask myself, you see, a good examiner knows the objective. The objective, for example, of course, you guys are aware of this bad statistic that there is no way we can ever allow more than 2,000 students to pass CPA Section 5 stroke CPA Section 6. 2,000 is even too much. If you look at the newsline, I hope you guys keep on reading the newsline of the CPA finalists, the ones who qualify every semester. Is there a semester they have ever hit 2,000? No. No. It is 1,600. There's another semester it was even poorer than 1,000. You can imagine. So as an examiner who knows exactly that the major role here is to ensure that the CPA Part 3 students here read so hard for them to be able to really impress the examiner to pass, then what you need to do is to set for them this kind of a question. It's a pricing question. So you'll come and tell them, illustration 2, or question 2, it doesn't matter. So you'll tell them material per unit. Material per unit, give them like 10. Give them again here, labor costs per unit. Talk of first unit. Talk of 5 hours again at 3 per hour. At 3 per hour, give them 15 there. Right? So come here, give them overheads. Just give them overheads. Give them overheads per unit. Give them a figure. This one here be a bit lenient to them. So from there, you'll come and tell them additional information that the eighth unit took. The average time, the average time of the first 8 units, the average time of the first 8 units is 4 hours, and then you are required to calculate, right, the price of the 20th unit if the profit markup is 10%. And then, of course, even to help these students a little bit, it's not very good for you to be a sadist as an examiner, right? So hint, use learning curves to ascertain labor cost. 12 marks. Use learning curves to ascertain labor cost. 12 marks. 12 marks. So is there anybody who is writing something? Anybody writing something? So I can see what Damaris is writing there. Damaris says no learning rate. Is there anybody who is able to see the learning rate? Is there anybody who is able to see the learning rate in this question? Is there anybody who is able to see the learning rate in this question? Whenever the learning rate is not given, use what Catherine is proposing there. Catherine remembers this vividly as if we did it just yesterday, that whenever the learning rate in a learning curve question is not given, always try to think about doubling path principle. Now, given what Catherine has been able to remind us, is there anybody who will be able to give us the learning rate using doubling path principle? Is there anybody who has never heard of doubling path principle? Is there anybody who has never heard of doubling path principle? Karanja says he has never heard. There are so many. Doubling path principle is very easy. There are so many students here who have never heard of the doubling path principle. So because of that, please allow Mwalimu to repeat something small here. Remember what we said in the normal class. Remember what we said in the normal class. That if this is your learning curve, and then you happen to be having here some quantity, say x, whose average time is t, if you double your production quantity from x to 2x, there is a time relationship. There is a time relationship that your time will reduce from t to RT. Your time will reduce from t to RT. Your time will reduce from t to RT like that. Your time will reduce from t to RT. Doesn't make sense still, Mwalimu? Very easy. Listen and listen to me very well. Listen and listen to me very well. This can't even make sense to most of us. If, for instance, you are given here like quantity, and then they give you average time. So they tell you that this quantity is 10, and then they give you average time, for example, 8. And then they come asking for the average time of producing the doubled output. The doubled output, which is what here, somebody? Which is 20. The doubled output, which is 20. So you see 10 times 2 is 20. So this is doubled output. So it means that what I need to do to get the time of the doubled output, I simply need to calculate what we call RT. RT, where T is the time for this. So if, for example, a question tells you that R is 75%, then RT, this will be 75% of the time which is what here, 8. 75% of the time, that is what here, that is 8. 75% of the time, that is 8. So 75% of 8 gives me what figure, somebody here? 75% of 8 will give me what figure, somebody? 75% of 8 will give me what figure, somebody? Somebody talk to me. Six. Thank you very much. 6. Thank you very much. 6. 6. But you see, that is not even my concern for today. My concern for today is something very different. Something very different. And this is what I would want you to appreciate. This is what I would want you to appreciate for today's class. So your examiner will give you some output. So this examiner has given us an output of, say, 10. Then we have average time. So it will come and give you 8 here, and it'll give you 6 there. And then you will be required here, to calculate R. You'll be required to calculate what here, somebody? To calculate R. So then how will we be able to get R? How will we be able to get R? So anytime this R is not given, always think about doubling path. Always think about doubling path. And this is normally what we do. If there is a double here, 10 times 2 is 20. Then this one here will be called T. This one here will be called RT. And what we are saying basically is that our RT equals 6. Our RT equals 6. Then our R times T here, T that we already have here, which is 8, equals 6. Then R alone will be 6 out of 8, which will give us 0. What here, somebody? 75. 0.75. Haijaingia bado, haijaingia bado, haijaingia bado, haijaingia bado. Can I rub this? 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 Hii haijaingia bado. Haijaingia bado. Hii haijaingia bado. Nisikize kidogo jameni, nisikize kidogo jameni. Utaenda kwa exam, utapata umepatiwa pa x is 2, 4, umekupatia 80 for average time, umekuambia for example ni 6, wakaja hapa wakwambia ni 5. Alafu wanakuambia required calculate R. Required calculate R. Hebu saidia mwalimu tuka kwa utapata calculate R. Required calculate R, calculate R. Great. It's only one student who has been able to see that. 83%. Yes, thank you very much. What these students have been able to discover is that there is doubling effect. So this will be T, this will be RT. And we are saying that our RT equals 5. And unfortunately, we know the initial time was 6. So then this will be R times 6 equals 5. So it will be R equals 5 over 6, which will be 83%. Thank you very much. And as usual, because now my board has been very small, I'm not using that camera which I normally use always. My board is very small. I would want to ask whether I can rub this side. Can I rub this side? Can I rub this side? Yes. That's one yes. 2 of, at least I should be able to get like 10 for me to move with lots of confidence. Yes, thank you very much. Now let me give you the last one, because I don't strongly believe that this for sure has sunk home nicely. I don't believe that. That has not yet happened. So then, gentlemen, what if, for example, you are given here X, you're given here average time, they've given us here 8, 64, here they have given us 10 versus 8, and then you are required to calculate R. We are required to calculate R. We are required to calculate R. We are required to calculate R. So Jabir says 80%. Karanja says 0.1%. Steve K, thank you very much. 80%. I like what Ruth is saying, that she's not sure, but one thing that she's sure about is that Mr. X cannot become a president in Kenya. She doesn't know who is going to become the president, but Mr. X cannot become, where Mr. X is 80%. She's saying that 80% is absolutely wrong. And I really love what this student is telling us, because this is a student who has been able to appreciate that 8 and 64 are not multiples of a double. They are not direct double. Because if you double, so the first thing that you ought to have done is to introduce the doubling path. So introduce the doubling path first of all. So keep on doubling. Like when you double 8, you get 16. When you double 16, you get 32. When you double 32, you get 64, like that. And the one of 64 is the one that you guys gave me, figure of 8. Right? Thank you very much, Faith. So then what I need to think about is that the initial time is always t. Now the second one given here will be rt. You keep on introducing r's. So this becomes r squared t. Always you keep on introducing r's. So the last one here will be r raised to power 3 t. And then please don't forget that you pick it from there. You pick it from here. You pick it from here. So it is r cubed t equals 8. Unfortunately, we know what our t is. Our t is 10. Meaning that our r cubed equals 8 over 10, which will be 0.8. But now remember, we don't want r cubed. We want r alone. So how do we get r alone? Can I divide both sides by 3? Can I divide both sides by 3? Can I divide both sides by 3? No. To get r, I need to find a way of taking this 3 to the other side. And the lady there is very right. She's telling me that our r will be equal to cube root of 0.8. Cube root will be cube root. Cube root of 0.8 will be cube root of 0.8. Cube root, that reminds me that students who come from Kalenjin Rand, they'll tell you cube root is quite similar to some small animal. There's a small animal used to get in Rift Valley long time ago, which they used to call Kiptorut. Do we have some Kalenjins here? I've not seen a Kale here, but in AFM, there are very many Kalenjins. Yeah, Gilbert, great, yeah, great. At least Gilbert understands what I'm talking about. Great. Even Korir is here, yes. Even Faith, yeah. But again, you guys could be very young. Chances are, assimilated, chances are you may not be knowing that a small animal, very small animal like this, very small animal, because you guys are very young. You know, nowadays, most of those things have disappeared. So they are telling me that when you take the cube root of 0.8, it will be 0.92, 83, 0.93, which is the same as 92, which is the same as 92, which is the same as 92.83. 92.83. Oh. Kumbe wakale ni wengi sana hapa. Kumaanisha hapa sana nimeshafanya some statistic which I would want to document. Kumbe Wakalenjins, they are very good in advanced financial management. They don't know AMA. They don't know AMA. Because AMA si wana wakiongea sana. Lakini AFM wanaongea sana. I'm able to pick very fast. AFM wanaongea sana. No, that's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. Now, ladies and gentlemen, once now you have this R, do you think in this case here you are now at a good position of answering this question? Will we be able to get the time of the 20th unit? Remember here now this time round? Yes, we can decide. Thank you very much, Damaris. We can decide to use 93% as our learning rate. We can decide to use 93% as our learning rate. we can decide to use 93% as our learning rate, And then now remember, this question does not have anything to do with stabilization, does it? No, it doesn't have any question to do with stabilization. It doesn't have anything to do with stabilization. Nothing. Very good. Thank you very much. Someone assist me, set my calculator, giving me wrong figures. Simply go to your calculator, say mode. When you say mode, press 1, computational mode. If you don't want to delete everything there, you simply say mode, computational mode, number 1. Right? And then you'll be able to get answers there straight away. Great. So today, the student who should be able to get my present, who has been very active throughout, is Damaris. Damaris should be able to get my today's present